Welcome to the Dropout Drop-In. It's producer Liz.
And the Jordan Brown. Very important people. We are. Were you
You
going to do
stole
the same
my
thing?
intro. You knew exactly where I was going with that. We both had a chance to talk to Vic off the top of this season. So what was your takeaway from your interview with Vic about what to expect for season 2?
Oh man, you're asking me to remember time that I spent with Vic, and I don't remember anything other than I told them about an AO3 fanfic, and they were wired on caffeine to a probably alarming amount of yerba mates that they had drunk over the course of like 5 hours of press that they were doing. But yeah, I mean, the big takeaway is obviously the finale that I think we both asked not the same question, but we both called the like, hey, Lisa Gilroy's the finale, right? And we were both right. And yeah, but I felt like bigger swings this season, I think, was the thing other than those weirdly specific parts.
I definitely think the big swings were the question that I walked into the interview with, too, because season 2s in general, not just with Dropout, but across non-scripted reality television, tend to be quite challenging because, especially with unscripted television, you set a bar with season 1, you create a vibe, you create an energy, and you have to figure out how to bring that back without overcompensating, over-preparing, over-delivering. Like, you have to leave that room for magic, but it is certainly harder in the world of unscripted to do that versus in a scripted show where you can really get scientific with characters and plots. And Very Important People is kind of in an interesting position in that way where they do have elements of the show that are scripted, and then the 90% of it is unscripted, and it's up to the people on set with Vic to kind of make that magic happen. So I was really interested going into the interview to see what their twist on season 2 was going to be. And, certainly hearing about how that big why question of the character evolved from just wanting to be the best reporter to like, well, now I'm stuck with this show because it's successful. And then seeing that thread through these first 6 episodes has been really interesting, and how host Vic's ego is kind of in a different place, and the Webby Award and how that interacts on set, and kind of bridging in real world elements into this fictional place. So fun.
Yeah, I'm fingers crossed they win the Queerty, I think is the award they're up for right now.
Yes,
just
and
so
we will leave the link to vote in the
Yeah.
description if you
You
haven't
can vote
voted
once
yet.
a day. Yeah, so if they can win another award, and host Vic is just is forever locked into a cycle of winning awards, so has to stay part of the show, is such a funny narrative within the universe. For obviously a person who real Vic adores doing the show. It's so funny to have a reason why host Vic just has to be there and be so mistreated all the time.
Additionally, it's very, very funny how that plot in the show is unintentionally an audience participation element to the show, because the Webby was voted on by fans. This award is voted on by fans. It's not like if you win an Emmy, right? That's like a voting body has awarded you, and it's kind of it's a different thing. Certainly they're viewers, but not like the culty fan base of VIP trying to make something happen for the show. So that's also like additionally like existential to me about how the real fans of the fictional show are creating a subplot for the show's world to take. So it's also funny to me how there's other Dropout shows that are nominated in that category that are not doing similar campaigning to Vic and the team of Very Important People promoting the hell out of it.
I mean, it's like someone like commented, because I made a video saying like you go vote for VIP, and someone was like, oh, Dungeons and Drag Queens is up for it as well. How do I pick? And I'm like, well, they're not going to make a plot line of Dungeons and Drag Queens 3 that they won an award, but VIP season 3 will make that a plot line. So like, vote for VIP.
Vote for VIP. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God. Plug for next week's episode. I'm so excited to talk about this season of Dungeons and Drag Queens with you after the finale airs. We're going to wrap the whole season up in one episode, which I think will be a fun way to talk about Dimension 20, because we usually go episode by episode, but this time we'll be able to talk the whole thing for the first time.
I think I've watched 4 episodes. I've done so good
Since
the last time we talked. Since the last time we talked, I had watched no episodes.
None. And these are long episodes, right? Yeah. Like, it's not like very important people. You can kind of catch up in one long sitting, but you could catch up in one sitting. Dungeons and Drag Queens is a commitment and a very lore-heavy show in a way that some, all Dimension 20 shows are lore-heavy, but this one specifically is like that high fantasy lore that you got to keep up with. I'm rewatching Fantasy High junior year with my partner who didn't watch it with me last year, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot how hard it is to keep up with the high fantasy shows versus like Never Stop Blowing Up, where it's just absolute freaking chaos every week.
You barely need to know the character names because some of the players don't know the character names.
Okay, I'm so excited to talk with you next week about all of that. But very important people, we are 7 episodes into the 16-episode season. So we're just about halfway. I thought we'd talk through the first episodes that we've gotten and make some predictions for the rest of the season. I think our first overall take on this season that we were talking about before we hit record for you guys was how heavy hitting these guests are and how stacked these first performances were. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, I have the Paul F. Tompkins Slugman frozen on my screen right now so that I could go through the list of who's coming. But that is what is currently looking at me on my other computer, and that episode hasn't aired yet. But yeah, obviously John Early and Kate Berland, also a fantastic idea to have them last so that they could destroy the set, because you gotta throw a blender when you're dealing with soup. But yeah,
they were the last episode to record.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why they were able to like throw things,
hilarious,
because you were able to break down the set afterwards. And as far as I know, they didn't actually break any rentals, which was the thing people were excited about.
That's great. That's great. Let's pause on that episode for a minute. I know we're going to talk about all of them, but specifically that episode was such a different flavor to very important people, and I do mean the soups of it all. It was such a funny we've been seeing these production choices across the episodes, like the letters in Zach Oyama's episode and these pre-planned gags and bits for Vic and the guests to kind of take and spin in their own way, and the soups being a gag that production would have had to have planned and plotted and introduced to everyone before they started.
But it's not. It was a thing in the middle of the episode where someone was like, hey, run to like whatever grocery store it is, grab a bunch of cans of soup and slap some stickers on them so that we can put them on air.
Oh, I thought that was a pre-planned thing, because the letters in Zach's episode.
I'm assuming the letters also, the letters feels like they had like a couple of them. I don't know, because they had wax seals on them. So that feels like you had a thing that you don't have, although it is next door to probably Dimension 20, which I'm assuming has a wax seal ability. I don't know.
That's a big question that I want an answer to then, because I thought the soups were pre-planned. That's a big exclusive from Jordan for me. So they ran out in the middle of the episode and
apparently to get cans of soup. Yeah.
Wow, that's genius. I absolutely loved it. I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, I'm excited. I should be talking to Tamar, the director of VIP, soon. I'll ask about soups and letters and how those came to be. Because, yes, I also am fascinated by... number one, just the biggest shout out to Zach Oyama opening the letter in the worst possible way, which made it funnier every single time.
Zach's commitment to doing bits that repace what's happening is something that we talk a lot about, the different things that Zach brings to performance that we enjoy and that make him such a unique cast member, but that specifically to me is something that he does so exceptionally well. Like, he has no problem running with something that's either exceptionally fast or exceptionally slow, or like changing the entire dynamic of a moment. And that letter opening was one where I was like, wow, it takes a lot of like courage almost to be so confident in what you're doing that you will sit there and just like tinker so slowly with something and like really stretch the awkwardness of that moment. And he does it like no problem. It's amazing to watch.
Absolutely brilliant. Just every single time I was just watching. And genuinely, I was like, I don't think you can open the letter that way. And he did eventually get one that Vic was so exasperated that they didn't pull the letter away from, that he did like pull the whole thing and then slide the letter. And I was like, oh, I guess you can't open an envelope that way. That's true. It's the worst possible way, but yeah.
Another thing that came out of my interview with Vic in terms of these like big character swings and choices, Vic kind of planted in my ear to look forward to Danielle's episode. And Danielle's episode was outrageously good. If you don't know, Danielle is a cast member on Ghosts, which films in Montreal. So when we were talking about the Canada of it all, Vic was like, oh, and you should look forward to Danielle because, you know, Danielle's got these Canadian connections. And I was like, yeah, like it is very exciting. But I think the real Easter egg that Vic was planting for me was these commercial break references that Vic was making during the episode, with the magic spells being these like jingles. Good things grow in Ontario. I had to pause. I was screaming so loud. That was exceptionally a moment for me. I also don't know if do you guys have the Cars for Kids commercials in the States?
Yes, we do.
You do? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Because we see that all the time on Canadian television. So that also felt like a bit of a nudge.
Yeah.
So funny.
Look, I don't know. We definitely have them. My brain was just like, do we have them, or have I just seen them on John Oliver? I can't tell you. My brain doesn't work right anymore.
Let us know in the comments if you see Cars for Kids on American television, but for sure on Canadian television we have it. Good Things Grow in Ontario. That is as solid a Canadian Easter egg as Brennan's Augbert bean from Newfoundland.
Yeah.
We can
And
put
Ontario
a CanCon stamp on that.
is a province.
Ontario is a
city.
province. It's
Yes.
true. Yeah. It's a
I did
yeah.
it.
It's a big one too.
If you had let me keep talking, I would have just kept guessing other things.
No, you were right on the first try, and the edit will reflect that. Let the record show. But no, Danielle's episode was so fun and so different yet again. And the PA of it all, did you get a kick out of that?
So good. Just, shout out to everybody, but like casting Talia as Bianca, the stepdaughter, having your PAs come in to do really elaborate bits, just fantastic. They're getting a lot more involved with what's happening behind the scenes, like literally a camera flying in a letter with Zach Oyama. Like that's
that one intro where Vic's talking to all the different cameras.
Yes.
As well, all the different, like, yeah, it's a very interactive set, and I think we're only going to continue to see that over this season, which is so thrilling and exciting. I love when a show set is more than just like the set they make, it's like the whole
and we had Jacob like did like a full like tour as he was buying very important people.
What an interesting character. That was a totally different one from what we saw from Jacob in season 1. I thought that was so, and the idea of buying Dropout Studios and that whole thing was just like such a funny, like, where did that come from in his brain? Like sometimes, I don't know about you, but you hear these like, if I ever got a chance to do a bit like this, like people have bits in their head or running jokes in their head of like, there's going to be a time where I get to kind of pull this string and I'm going to do it. And when I saw Jacob making that choice, I was like, I wonder how long he's wanted to do the I'm buying Dropout Studios bit.
Yeah. It's very good. I also wonder where in your brain you're like, oh, I can't walk on carpet. Where that happens in your brain, because
hilarious,
an incredible choice.
I was also curious, like, who was in the building that day that they had to go and be like, we're making a choice here, like clear out, like get out of here. Yeah, very, very funny.
So good. But we haven't talked about my favorite episode of the season, the first episode. Anna Garcia, just a challenge to the editors out there, because I don't make edits. But there's the new Fantastic Four trailer where Mr. Fantastic is like, Ben's rocks now. Mm-hmm. How has no one made a cut of Anna saying, I'm rocks now? Like, to put those together. That's just free content for you, assuming you know how to edit. I can't do it.
Listen, we're going to get Dimension 20 memes to put a blast out there. Britt, get the people moving. We need it. Anna Garcia as your start for season 1 and season 2. That was something we talked about when the trailer first dropped, about how great it is to have someone that can kind of land the tone of a whole season the way that Anna can. And that episode is unbelievably strong.
Yeah.
When you think about how people push Emmys episodes and campaigns out, your first episode is critical, because often people will only stream part of one thing to get some, like the gist of something. And last season, we know to the Emmys platform where voting members can stream all the content under consideration, VIP sent in Anna and Iffy, which are episodes 1 and 2 of season 1, I believe. And so this season, setting Anna up again to be that episode 1, I think is absolutely genius, not only for the common thread that external folks might catch on to, but it's just so damn funny. It's so unbelievably good.
Yeah, I mean, Anna Garcia is a star. I think we are in the making stages of Anna Garcia stardom. I mean, I laughed so hard I cried during that episode. I think that's definitely the only episode this season that has happened. Not that any of them are bad, but like that episode, ooh man, every bit of it.
I was wheezing. I was like fully having to pause the episode to giggle and just get my breath back. I think that Zeke is one of the most fully formed characters that we've seen this season as well. We not only immediately understood the struggle and person inside the rock, but we also had such a growth and a progression of that character over the course of the episode that it's just unbelievable to kind of watch unfold so naturally. And I think Vic and Anna also have a very specific kind of chemistry and way of like pulling each other's strings that is really dynamic and interesting. Like the familiarity between those two of how each other ticks and like what kind of improv like they can pull out of each other, I think is just genius.
Yeah, and I mean that agreed 1,000,000%. And we also had the moment that if you had planned it, it would have felt too forced, where Zeke pooped a rock on camera. Just absolutely perfect. Can't believe just how perfect that shot lined up. Just every bit of it.
Unbelievable, hey?
Yeah.
And let's talk about how the costuming and makeup for this season has been. You know, the budget clearly went up. Like the way that they're designing and bringing these characters to life is so extreme in a way that season 1 didn't quite get that extreme. Like we're seeing way more prosthetics. These characters are so fully formed. It's wild. And what we're getting next week with Paul F. Tompkins is just it's wild.
He's
wild.
Haunting me. He's right there haunting me. Yeah, it's obviously a huge increase in what they're doing. Also, I would say like a great increase in last looks, which is fantastic. I'm really glad they shot those at the time instead of what they did for season 1, which was months later. And they're like, okay, what happened on this day? Because they're still shooting. I think they're shooting 3 episodes a day. Even to something as simple as Zach's look, where they did so little to his face, the wig work of like we had to stitch 3 wigs together and then like figure out how to attach that to his head so that it didn't just fall off immediately, because there was so much weight of like, obviously wigs are not supposed to be that long. It was I mean just even that was such a brilliant move, and something that I don't think we would have seen in season 1 in terms of just the amount of people they have working on each of these looks. And then something like Paul F. Tompkins like is just,
and the
so
care
upsetting
that they're taking as well to cater these looks. Like I really loved the conversation they had around what they gave to Zach in season 1 versus what they wanted to give to Zach in season 2 being different, and really taking time to like fine tune for every person, and for those returning, making sure that everyone had something completely new to work with and not going back to what they did well or not well in season 1. I think like it's, in general, it's so easy to try and pigeonhole things that worked, and they could have been like, oh well, the thing that worked really well about Zach was that we gave him these over exaggerated like prosthetics and whatever, and it would have made a lot of sense in my brain if they had put him back in something different but had that same kind of structure. And the fact that they departed from that and they were like, no, we're gonna like the real thing to work with is stretching his like improv elastic band and like letting him go a different direction. I think that was the trust that they have in the cast and the way that they know how to work with improvisers versus producing a show and like running something by the algorithm, which would say Zach performed because of these reasons, and like you have to like lean back into that. Like they trust their talent so much when they're like developing these, and that's like so clear through these last looks.
We got Kimia, which I thought was fantastic. Again, more work from offset PAs of just calling for props and then being like, okay, here's a new random prop we have to throw in for Kivia to make a joke out of. And then the happiest we've ever seen Vic in the jukebox episode, which was made the ending all the funnier. That was like Vic literally kicking their feet as like they're planning their slumber parties, and then jukebox dying. Just a perfect choice by Chris Redd.
Oh my god,
so good.
So let's start with the Chris Redd. We'll end with Kimia. I think that Chris, we were so excited for him to join this show and to be cast on this season. Like it's such a heavy hitter to bring on, and obviously he is someone that would like turn Emmy voting heads, be like, oh, you got like the SNL alum are coming on the show. Okay, like it's a big get. So creating something for someone like him that is outrageous and big and bold, like if it was intimidating, it obviously did not come across because they absolutely nailed it. Such a funny take on that character to me, of like he could have gone so many ways with it, and he went so doomsday, but also I'm gonna be your best friend and it's all gonna be fine, and then dying at the end. Like, just what a wild arc we got from him.
Yeah, I have no insight on how much any of the other people on the show have watched season 1, other than like Anna Garcia has watched all the episodes, because I know that Anna's a fan of VIP generally, because we got to chat about it. But like, yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it was just the perfect instinct from Chris, or if he had insight going in and being like, oh, I know Vic is so sad, I'm gonna lean into that and try to be their friend, or if that's just the vibe that you pick up on set and you're like, I got it, I get what we're doing here.
It could not have been a better lore pickup.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd love to know if it was intentional or not. I think like I don't know why so many of the guests lean into combativeness with host Vic in one way or another, whether it's like literally wanting to like fight or like just arguing their way through soups. But the way that his approach was like, no, like I'm gonna go the opposite way. And it sounds like, it looks like from the trailer that there's more characters that want to get intimate with host Vic this season.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead to predictions, but yes, yeah. Echo Kellum is very close to host Vic's face in the trailer. So.
Very, very close, which we can infer from. But yeah, I loved Chris's episode. I think that it was that paired with Anna's episode. You have two back-to-back huge, bold characters, full story arc contained within an episode, but enough of that like season overarching story to kind of like create those pickups and interest to continue watching. You couldn't ask for a stronger 2 episodes to put in front of an external audience and make them understand the magic of like what this show is trying to do. It's unbelievably good. Yeah, and then, great use of set in Jukebox episode as well. Yeah, really like moving. We got to see a little bit behind the door for the charger. Again, I'm sure a thing that the camera crew has to be like, oh no, that's not an area we've prepped for filming. So
but I think works so well because like obviously you're not. It is supposed to be a set. It is not like, this is a house that someone's interviewing in. It is supposed to be 3 walls, and we are very aware of that. They make reference routinely to be like, I talk to that person, I don't talk to that person.
Let's talk about Kimia's episode, because I personally love the characters that are related to works of fiction. Like, I loved Allie in season 1 having that connection to the pigs and having like the big bad wolf come into like the lore that we all know, connecting to the lore of very important people. And I loved that Kimia did that with this character. Just such a funny pull, and immediately places this identity in a way that's like immediately funny without having to over explain.
Yeah, Fourth Witch. I think just the concept of Fourth Witch was my favorite part of the episode. Just when she was like, the 3, I'm the 4th. And it's like, instantly, I understand everything about your character. You're incredibly unpleasant because you were not written about in any of the stories.
And it gives you so much distance once you have that set up versus someone like Zach. The episode is about grounding the character in something, and you're trying to figure out who it is. Same with Brennan in season 1, the way that like the character didn't know who they were, so then you had to find the character and then go from there. I love these episodes where it's like you're caught up to Like, oh, fourth witch, I immediately understand your shit. Like, let's go from here. Seeing Kimya do the Dropout improv show in New York and seeing how funny Kimya's comedic instincts are makes that episode even funnier to me, because fourth witch having like this identity as a comedian that like doesn't always translate, and then that makes it even funnier, like is such a meta game for someone who is so funny to have to do. Like, how do you create a comedy routine that is not funny that it's funny? Like the mental gymnastics of doing that, oh my god, so challenging and executed so well.
Now all we need is Vic to do a backflip on stage on VIP.
We have so many episodes to go. We have so much room for Vic to do a backflip. Do you want to cast some predictions for the rest of the season?
I'm really in on Bobby Moynihan. I'm standing by that. I've been rewatching a lot of old SNL stuff. Bobby Moynihan kills every time. And it's a character that the more I see of Paul Robolino, the more excited I get to see him do his 90s punk whatever nonsense. I can't wait for those two I think are the things I'm most excited about, other than the finale, because look, they picked Lisa Gilroy for a reason. I'm sure it's going to be unhinged in the best possible way.
I agree. I think it's painful to have to wait for the new Lisa Gilroy episode to drop. I'm sure it's going to be a great finale, but very painful to have to wait for it. I think that based on the tone of the season, the sleeper hit might be Alex Songja as that Margaritaville looking parrot bird thing. Yeah. Alex tends to lean into, at least from what we've seen on Dropout specifically, Alex's characters are not the characters that have bold choices the way that like a Zach character or a Lisa character do. Alex's humor kind of comes in sneaky and then grows as you kind of like get the layers off the onion. So I think having a character that is so visually bold and big, I think it's such a good contrast, and I'm so excited to see what host Vic is going to do with that energy in comparison to some of these like huge stories and existential threats that the other guests this season have brought in. Yeah,
like you expect John Early and Kate Berlant to come in swinging huge personalities, huge energy, putting them in zombie makeup. Also, I don't think we've even mentioned the fact that they never reference that they're in zombie makeup, which is so much funnier. I know some people on the internet were mad. You're incorrect. It's so much funnier that they didn't talk about it. But yeah, Alex, the bird shirt, the like martini glass filled with some sort of yellow liquid, not bird shirt, bird face, and hands, the Hawaiian shirt and a lei, just every bit of it is like bird person on vacation, and I can't wait to see what they do with it.
So good. And how did they go from vacation to the very important people set is my question. Yeah. It's one of those ones like where in season 1 I felt so sure about what Izzy was going to do with Leanne Gruthers, was that her name? And then the episode turned such a different direction than what I anticipated. I have a feeling that Alex Songja is going to be that this season. Yeah.
I guess I should also say, like, the most memeable moments came from Leanne and Ogbert, and the fact that we have Brennan and Izzy together, I'm assuming, obviously they're incredibly comfortable working with Vic. I'm assuming that episode also is just going to be absolute madness in their full wrestler garb.
I think that episode is going to be the unofficial, bigger season 2. Like that, there's no way that episode's not going to be a game of who can make the bigger choice and make it faster and more unexpectedly. Like, I think it's just going to be a one-up for 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure we've talked about it. So excited for Brennan that he doesn't have sleeves on. Since per Brennan, the last time he was on VIP in season 1, his doctor referred to it as a sweat tornado. I don't remember what he told me.
It was a sweat tornado or something like that. It's a great bit in your interview with Brennan that if y'all haven't seen Jordan's interview with Brennan, it's on YouTube now, and I'll link it below. It's a really great, about an hour, 50 minutes or so, and it goes by in a flash.
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
and which makes, man, I've talked to so many people about season 1 of VIP. I'm trying to close the gap of everyone from season 1. I'm getting close. I'm getting close.
So excited. You're going to have to do a compilation of every VIP conversation you've had with people that aren't Vic and just put it into one like super video or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
In a
good.
world where I convinced you to start editing things together from your interviews. That's really what that means.
That's way easier than
that's fair.
having to like capture a trailer and part of an episode and get them together. Although I will say, look, we're recording this on Riverside. We both enjoyed Riverside. Most of those interviews are archived by now, so I would have to go back and like unarchive everything and start pulling clips. But that's fine. I could do that.
We believe
Once I
in
get
you, Jordan.
everybody, then I'll do it.
Comment a thumbs up if you believe in Jordan's ability to unarchive footage and edit it together for us. I am as much your co-host as someone that wants to see more content, so. Oh my god, let us know in the comments as well which episodes you've been loving from this new season of Very Important People and what ones you're looking forward to. Last week we were talking about Dimension 20 live and some of our predictions for future episodes, and one comment that caught my eye was a prediction that came in from the Jersey Dog that says if there is any other venue that'll have pyro on tap, it's gotta be Vegas.
Yeah.
And there's still tickets available for a bunch of the Dimension 20 live shows.
I bought a ticket to Vegas this week.
No way. It's an exclusive. Y'all going to Vegas are going to see Jordan. I
didn't buy flights or hotel yet, just the tickets. Because I was like,
I need to find a way to be at that show because that's the Starstruck show.
Yes.
Right?
And that is why I was like, all right, I mean, look, you'll be able to resell it if you need to resell it, but like...
I already have the Barry shirt.
Yeah.
I gotta find a way to be there. That's going to be an outrageous time. You guys gotta let us know what Dimension 20 live shows you're going to, so Jordan and I can either split the difference or do another episode live from a random city where Dimension 20 is going to play. I can't believe that those shows haven't sold out yet compared to the Madison Square Garden sellout rate.
Yeah.
That's actually really shocking to me, but I think based on the success of how Madison Square Garden went, those shows are probably going to be scaled up to be as dynamic and fun as what we saw in New York.
Yeah, I think, especially because those shows are all in the round as well, I think we're going to see, they probably have the rigging for what they have, set up for New York will probably be very similar, I would guess. Maybe not as detailed, but... There probably won't be confetti cannons and pyrotechnics from both floor and ceiling at the other venues. But we'll see. Who knows?
We'll see. Especially if they already bought the
butane.
All this stuff.
They
Yeah,
gotta use it.
exactly. Right? And you gotta use it. That big old dice gotta make another appearance, and then the cost of it goes down, right? Like that's how I justify my production choices. The more use I get into something, the cheaper it actually was to make. Hey. So no, very excited. I cannot wait to see and learn more about how those shows are going to form. It seems like we're not getting any other new live dates for Dimension 20 this year, but there are more Dropout Improv and bigger shows, it seems. I think another date was added to Brennan and Izzy's bigger shows. There's Dropout Improv that has happened in Vancouver, I think, and it sounds like there might be more on the way based on how excited everyone was to post their little recaps and all those Instagram posts about how successful the tour was. So seems like a big year for Dropout Live.
Yeah. I think we are building towards more live touring across the country, which is very exciting, and apparently across Canada as well. But yeah, I think
one can only dream. One can only dream.
If there is a D20 show in a city that's not Los Angeles, you can probably assume there is a bigger show also happening at the same time in that city.
Let us know what you're loving on Dropout in the comments so we can cater our future episodes to what y'all want to see and hear from us. And we'll see you next week for a Dungeons and Drag Queen season recap.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my god, what is happening? Can you hear that?
I cannot.
Hold on. When we started recording, it was clear blue skies, and it is a full-blown hail snowstorm.
Oh.
And there's hail hitting my window. Sorry. I was alarmed.
That's fair. You're probably going to have to repeat that question because I don't know what you asked me.
What is this? I'm going to start my answer over.
We're doing great.
We're doing great. That is 2 interruptions, 2 minutes in. Okay. I have to pause you for a second because I need to open my notes. We've never had to pause this much during a recording. There's something very loud beeping in my apartment. Oh my god. What is that? I don't know what this has been, the episode of interruptions. I'm gonna have to cut all of these together and put them at the end.